In September 1940, a British ocean liner docks in Halifax, Nova Scotia, carrying one object that will decide the fate of World War II. Inside that suitcase is not gold, not cash. It is a device the size of a loaf of bread that can see enemy aircraft from over 100 miles away. And Britain gives it to the United States, free of charge, with no conditions attached. To understand why Britain did this, you need to understand how desperate the situation was in September 1940. France had fallen in June. The British Army had abandoned nearly all its heavy equipment on the beaches of Dunkirk. Britain stood alone against Nazi Germany, with no guarantee the United States would ever enter the war. Britain was running out of money to buy American weapons under the cash and carry program. The man who devised the solution was Sir Henry Tizard, a chemist and the chairman of the Aeronautical Research Committee. Tizard realized that Britain had world-leading scientific breakthroughs, but no industrial capacity to mass-produce them. America had the factories, the raw materials, and the manpower, but was lagging behind in key military technologies. So Tizard proposed a radical idea. Britain would give America its most advanced military secrets in exchange for American production. Prime Minister Winston Churchill approved the mission personally, overruling concerns from military intelligence. The mission was kept so secret that most of the British cabinet did not know its full contents. In August 1940, the Tizard Mission departed, carrying a black suitcase that contained the crown jewels of British military science. The delegation included Tizard himself, a few scientists, and an army officer, but the real power was in that suitcase. The centerpiece of their offering was the cavity magnetron, a device that would revolutionize radar forever. Previous radar systems used long radio waves that needed enormous antennas and could not spot small targets at long range. The cavity magnetron was a copper and brass cylinder about the size of a dinner plate, but it generated radio waves at a wavelength of just 10 centimeters. That short wavelength meant the radar beam could be focused into a narrow cone, giving operators precise range and bearing on targets. Previous British radar systems, like Chain Home, operated on wavelengths of several meters and could only tell operators that something was out there, not exactly where. The cavity magnetron was 1,000 times more powerful than any previous radar transmitter, and it could fit inside an airplane. This meant that for the first time, aircraft could carry their own radar and hunt enemy submarines and bombers at night or in cloud cover. The American scientists who first saw the cavity magnetron at the Tizard Mission called it the most valuable cargo ever brought to their shores. The United States immediately established the radiation laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to mass produce and improve the device. But the cavity magnetron was only one item in that suitcase. The Tizard Mission brought a full portfolio of British military science. Among them were the complete design plans for the WWII jet engine, the world's first practical turbojet. Britain had flown the first jet aircraft, the Gloucester E-2839, just months earlier, but lacked the resources to put it into mass production. The mission also handed over the design for the proximity fuze, a tiny radar inside an artillery shell that could detect when it was near a target and detonate automatically. This fuse would later triple the effectiveness of anti-aircraft fire against Japanese kamikaze attacks and German V-1 flying bombs. The Tizard Mission also shared Britain's research on the feasibility of an atomic bomb, the Maud Committee report. This report concluded that an atomic bomb was scientifically possible and could be built within the war, providing the essential foundation for the Manhattan Project. In exchange for all of this, Britain asked for nothing but the right to purchase American-produced versions of their own inventions. The Tizard Mission was the most valuable single transfer of military technology in history, and it happened without a single dollar changing hands. The delegation arrived in Washington, D.C. in September 1940 and was met by members of the National Defense Research Committee. The head of that committee was Dr. Vannevar Bush, the most powerful science administrator in America at the time. Bush had been trying to convince the American military to invest in radar research, but the Navy and Army were skeptical. When the British delegation opened their suitcase and demonstrated the cavity magnetron, the room went silent. One American scientist reportedly said that the cavity magnetron was the most valuable single item ever brought to the United States. Vannevar Bush immediately authorized the creation of a new laboratory dedicated solely to microwave radar development. That laboratory became the Radiation Laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, known simply as the RAD Lab. At its peak, the RAD Lab employed nearly 4,000 people and developed half of all radar systems used by the Allies during the war. The first major application of the cavity magnetron was airborne interception radar, fitted into American and British night fighters. These radar sets allowed Allied pilots to detect German bombers and U-boats at night, in fog, and through cloud cover with deadly accuracy. The Battle of the Atlantic was being won not by bigger guns, but by a copper cylinder that could find a submarine periscope in the dark. By 1943, American factories were producing cavity magnetrons by the tens of thousands, equipping every Allied bomber and patrol aircraft. The proximity fuse, another gift from the Tizard suitcase, was mass-produced in American factories and changed anti-aircraft warfare forever. The proximity fuse was so secret that it could only be used over water, where the enemy could not retrieve a dud and reverse engineer it. When the German V-1 flying bomb attacks began in 1944, proximity-fused anti-aircraft shells destroyed most of them before they reached London. The effectiveness of anti-aircraft fire improved from roughly 1% of rounds hitting their target to over 50%, thanks to that one fuse design. But the Tizard mission's influence did not stop at radar and fuses. It transformed the entire relationship between American science and the military. Before the Tizard mission, the United States military had no centralized organization for scientific research and development. The National Defense Research Committee, which Vannevar Bush chaired, had only been created in June 1940, just months before the British arrived. The success of the cavity magnetron demonstration convinced the American military that science could win wars, and that belief never faded. By the end of the war, the American military was spending more on research and development than the entire pre-war budget of the Carnegie Institution. Vannevar Bush himself later wrote that the Tizard mission was the most important single event in the history of American military science. But the story of the Tizard mission also has a quieter, more personal dimension, the story of the man who gave everything and received little recognition. Sir Henry Tizard returned to Britain after the mission and continued his scientific work, but he was never fully celebrated for what he had accomplished. The Americans who received the technology, men like Vannevar Bush and the scientists at the RAD Lab, became household names in the scientific community. But Tizard himself was gradually pushed out of the inner circles of British scientific policy after the war. Some historians argue that his willingness to give away Britain's crown jewels without demanding payment in advance was seen as naivete by post-war officials. But the historical record shows that Tizard's strategy was not naivete, it was cold, calculated realism. Britain in 1940 had no time to negotiate terms. The Luftwaffe was bombing London every night, and the Battle of the Atlantic was being lost. Tizard understood that a technology sitting in a British laboratory was useless, but the same technology mass-produced in American factories could win the war. And he was right. By 1944, American factories had produced over 1 million cavity magnetrons for the Allied air forces. The British had invented the device, but the Americans turned it into a weapon of war on an industrial scale, exactly as Tizard had planned. The Tizard mission also brought the complete designs for the British gyroscopic gun sight, a device that let fighter pilots aim without calculating lead manually. This sight used a spinning gyroscope to compute the enemy aircraft's speed and direction, projecting a fixed aiming reticle that already accounted for bullet drop. American fighter pilots who used the gyroscopic sight in the Pacific Theater doubled their kill rates against Japanese Zero fighters. Another item in the suitcase was the British-developed explosive called RDX, a compound far more powerful than standard TNT. American factories began mass-producing RDX by the thousands of tons, filling depth charges, aerial bombs, and naval mines with the more powerful explosive. The combination of RDX and the proximity fuze created naval anti-aircraft shells that could destroy an incoming kamikaze with a single well-timed blast. But the Tizard mission did not only deliver hardware, it also delivered the British research on operational research, the systematic analysis of combat data. British scientists had developed mathematical methods to optimize conv, sizes, bombing accuracy, and anti-submarine patrol routes using real combat statistics. The United States military adopted operational research wholesale, creating its own teams that would later prove decisive in the Battle of the Atlantic. One of the most immediate results of operational research was the optimal convoy size calculation that reduced shipping losses by over 30%. The Tizard mission also handed over the British design for the ASDIC sonar system, which allowed ships to detect submerged submarines acoustically. American sonar technology had been lagging behind the British, and the ASDIC plans allowed the US Navy to equip its destroyer escorts with effective submarine detection. By the end of 1943, the combination of American radar, British sonar, and operational research had turned the tide of the Battle of the Atlantic decisively. German U-boat losses climbed from 14 boats in 1941 to over 240 in 1943, most sunk by Allied aircraft carrying cavity magnetron radar. The technologies that the Tizard mission delivered to America did not just win the war, they transformed the post-war world as well. The cavity magnetron became the foundation of civilian air traffic control radar, weather radar, and the microwave ovens found in millions of American kitchens today. The microwave oven that sits in millions of American kitchens today traces its origin directly back to that cavity magnetron from the Tizard suitcase. A Raytheon engineer named Percy Spencer was testing a magnetron in 1945 when he noticed the chocolate bar in his pocket had melted. That accidental discovery led directly to the first microwave oven, the Radarange, which went on sale in 1947. But the Tizard mission's most profound legacy was not in kitchens. It was in the permanent partnership between science and the military. Before 1940, the American military had no centralized scientific research organization. After the Tizard mission, it became a permanent institution. The Office of Scientific Research and Development, which Vannevar Bush created in the wake of the mission, became the model for Cold War science funding. The National Science Foundation, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and the entire post-war American research ecosystem trace their lineage to that September 1940 meeting. But there is a quieter truth about the Tizard mission that rarely appears in the official histories: the cost to the man who made it happen. Sir Henry Tizard never received the public recognition that his American counterparts enjoyed. Vannevar Bush became a national icon. Tizard faded into obscurity. After the war, Tizard was pushed out of the inner circles of British science policy. His willingness to give away Britain's secrets was seen by some as a strategic mistake. But the historical record is clear. Tizard's strategy was not naivete. It was the only rational choice available to a nation fighting for its survival. Britain in 1940 had no time for diplomatic bargaining. The Luftwaffe was bombing London every night, and U-boats were sinking merchant ships faster than they could be built. A technology sitting in a British laboratory was useless, but the same technology mass-produced in American factories could win the war, and that is exactly what happened. By 1944, American factories had produced over 1 million cavity magnetrons. The British had invented it, but America turned it into a weapon on an industrial scale. The Tizard mission was the most valuable single transfer of military technology in history, and it happened without a single dollar changing hands. And that is the story of the Tizard mission, a story not of weapons, but of trust, foresight, and the quiet courage of a man who gave away his country's secrets to save the world. The Tizard mission reminds us that the most powerful weapon in any war is not a gun or a bomb. It is the willingness to trust an ally when the stakes could not be higher. And that is the story of the Tizard mission, a story not of weapons, but of trust, foresight, and the quiet courage of a man who gave away his country's secrets to save the world. If you found this story of quiet courage and scientific foresight compelling, please subscribe to Colonel Mittens for more untold stories from the hidden fronts of history.